listening to the Pasco Podcast with Mike Carballa. Welcome to Season 3 of Pasco Podcast, a series about leadership and public service. We'd like to thank our sponsors, the nearly 600,000 people of Pasco County, as represented by the Board of County Commissioners. It's through their trust and empowerment of our workforce and leadership team that we're able to bring you this podcast. This podcast is designed to help public servants build leadership skills and leverage them for success by sharing the experiences of our peers.
Hi, I'm Mike Carballa, and welcome to our 43rd episode of Pasco Podcast. This is a very special episode for us. It's National Back to School Month, and for the first time, we're welcoming guests from Pasco County Schools. Back to school season is in full swing. It's time not just for new adventures in learning, but to talk about tips for a smooth transition back to the classroom, as well as the latest in educational trends. We're also celebrating all the people who make the school year successful: parents, students, teachers, and other educational professionals. So today we want to welcome two very special guests from Pasco County Schools, social workers Deborah Davis and Dana Fedorchak. Dana, Deborah, welcome to the podcast. How y'all doing today?
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for having us.
Guys are excited, right?
Yes,
that's awesome. Well, we're excited too to have you. So why don't we just start a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you came to Pasco County Schools.
Hello, everyone. I am Deborah Davis. I was born and raised in Alabama, a little small city, Eufaula. And how I come to be in Pasco County, my beautiful daughter, I have two beautiful children, but my amazing daughter was offered a job opportunity at Pasco County Librarians, so I just followed her here on her journey. And with that being said, I acclimated at Starkey K-8. I started as an instructional assistant because I have a background in education, 10 plus years. And with that being said, a job opportunity came open for a social worker. I applied, and as they say, the rest is history.
Fantastic. Well, we're glad you're here, Deborah. Dana, how about you?
I am originally from outside of Chicago. I've lived there all of my life. And my husband has always said when we retired, we're moving to Florida. So 2 years ago.
True to his word.
Here we are. And I was working in schools up north and just realized I wanted to get back in the school system again, work in the county where I live. I live in Pasco County. And so I applied, and now I'm a Pasco County social worker.
That's fantastic. We were talking a little bit before the podcast, and Dana, I mean, you said you were born to be a social worker, right? We talk about that passion, and I mean, you guys are both passionate about children and supporting young adults. Where does that passion come from, Dana?
When my daughter was 6, her father passed away. And so I had looked for a therapist for her to try to help her, and I couldn't find anybody that would work with a 6-year-old. They kept telling me she was too young. So I went back to school to specifically work with children because I never wanted another parent to find themselves in that same situation I found myself in.
Wow. Thank you. True calling. Deborah, anything?
Dana and I, we share the same semblance. I was an educator, so I knew about the educational setting. But back home in Alabama, we didn't have school social workers. And my children were teen when my husband, their father, died. And like Dana said, it would have been nice if they had had an outlet instead of each other or me, someone to talk to. So as an educator, after 10 plus years in the classroom, I decided to go back and further my education, so I did that. But the funny thing is, Mike, when I first went to Troy University to apply for the enrolling classes to register and all of that, she was like, Deborah, you're going to have to do all of these classes. I said, I changed my mind. I'm too old. But no, with that being said, God said, we're going to put one foot forward, one at a time. And we did this. I went in. I loved it. I continue my education, and I just love being a social worker.
Well, that's fantastic, and kids need that passion to get through some of those things that I'm sure you see and you help them with. So as I mentioned before, this is National Back to School Month. I don't know if I'd be excited about that as a student, but whatever, I feel like they just got out. Now we're talking about going back. What, can you talk a little bit about what parents and students should be doing to prepare? Deborah?
Sure. One thing I like to always tell parents to keep in mind is make sure that you prioritize attendance, because that's the most important thing. And once they do that, it can be good for the kids academically, emotionally, socially, and mentally. And I also tell the parents, make sure that you reinforce that just because school is out, that doesn't mean we're not going to read some good books. We're not going to do some fun summer activities. I know with school being out, especially with the teenagers, they like the game and play the video games.
Right.
But still keep in mind that we're going to keep routine on the back burner. We're going to practice going to bed early, sleeping in a little bit late, but also getting up early, because before you know it, like you said, school is back in. So I like for parents to keep that in mind as well.
Fantastic.
I would definitely agree with what Deborah was saying. There needs to be some fun. Now's the last holiday of the summer break coming up this week, so have fun and then get back into that routine. Make sure kids understand the importance of going to bed on time early, getting up early, being prepared, having good nutrition, all those things that can make attendance fantastic for the school year.
So just try to continue a lot of those habits that
Yes,
they've built
definitely.
during the school year, kind of try to keep them, like I said, all right, you know what, maybe, you could sleep until, I don't know, 9, but this 2 o'clock in the afternoon business has got to stop a little bit. I get it. Let's talk about goal setting here for a second, because that's really, really important for students. What are some effective strategies to help kids set realistic goals for the next school year?
I think, first of all, the students or the children need to be part of those goals. So sit down with your
Okay.
child, ask them what goals they feel are important, some things they're working on. As the school year gets into full swing, meet with their teachers, have conversations with the teachers, and then make sure making realistic goals. Don't make a goal that the child can't accomplish or they'll feel defeated and then not want to work towards that goal. Maybe create some incentives for them if they accomplish bits and pieces of those goals. Maybe have a chart up on the wall at home so it's in their face and they can see them and they can work towards something that'll make them proud of themselves.
Awesome. Deborah?
And I share Dana's sentiment. With me being in the elementary setting, I like to remind the parents we can just simply do a SMART goal. And I like to highlight the acronyms. I tell the parents that SMART, the S stands for SMART, and the M stands for we're going to measure these goals. We're going to find out from the kids. Like Dana said, get the kids involved because they know what they want. So ask them what they're looking forward to going back to class. Maybe it's meeting a new teacher, maybe, re-engaging with their peers, and just maybe focusing on having good behavior and getting good grades. And so I also tell the parents we're going to measure those goals. We got to make sure we can attain those goals, but make sure the goals are realistic. And then do it on a timely manner. Just don't push the kids into doing something that they're not ready for. But make sure when they acclimate back into that classroom setting, keep a good working relationship also with the teachers because they are the first person that the kids see when they enter the school building other than the administration department. So once they get in that classroom, make sure that the parent and the teacher have a good collaborative working relationship. And at the end, because the goal is to make sure that the kids have a wonderful academic successful year.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you can't just go to a kid like that and say, hey, we want you to have a wonderful, my goal is to have a wonderful, successful academic year. You got to kind of break it down a little bit for them, and I making it so realistic is so important, right? Because, I could think of my kids when I remember, well, what do you want your goals? It would be something like, whoa, okay, let's dial this back a little bit here, right?
I know, right?
That's a year out. Let's talk about incremental steps towards getting to our goals because kids are learning. They're learning that, and that's a good skill to have as an adult. So let's talk a little bit about community. How important is community involvement in education, especially during back to school time? And do you guys have any tips for parents who really want to be more engaged in that?
The community is so very important with back to school time. We have a Meet the Teacher event coming up August 7th, and the community can come in some of the schools, set up booths. The community also is fantastic at our school in helping to provide resources. The mental health community helps with resources. Some of the businesses sponsor events that we have, being able to help our school. We're a Title I school, so we don't have a lot of money available to us. The parents don't have a lot of money to help out with things. And then the most important thing that I feel the community is getting the parents involved. So letting the parents know that they can volunteer, they can come in for special events, they can do those kinds of things. It helps the child to see that the parent recognizes that education is important, being at school is important, and it sets that for the child to understand that education is important. I have to go to school. Attendance is difficult for kids in elementary school, but definitely when they get into middle and high school, it becomes more of a struggle sometimes. So
by that you mean they don't really have a choice whether they attend or not, right? It's up to mom and dad. Make sure they either get to the bus or they get out there. And I'm sure you see kids that miss school through no fault of their own, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So if we solidify with the students how important their parents feel education is and the community, kids are more apt to follow that example and they'll show up to school and be on time.
Gotcha. Deborah, what do you think?
I agree with Dana because at my school, it's a non-Title I school, so the PTO does a lot. I mean, I have the PTO moms, Miss Davis, we're going to get on board with this and we're going to do it. And so we get on board and we do an event at my school called Pack-a-Sack, and it's for the kids with Florida being student choice. A lot of my kids come in from a demographic of underprivileged.
Okay.
So I jumped in immediately and got the ball running on that to make sure that those kids have what they need outside of the classroom and outside of the academic setting. So like Dana said, I remind the parents, volunteer. come in and do fundraisers. It's simple as just get out there with me. Sometimes in the morning I go out there. If they need help on the car line, I get out there, I open up some doors, I meet and greet the kids, say hello to the parents, wish them off and tell them to have a great day. Parents love that. And once they see that I do that, it makes them want to get involved. And also, I couldn't do this without my team. My student services team is the best team ever. I tell the parents also, get to know the counselor, get to know the psychologist, not only the social worker, but the nurses. Get to meet the people that work effectively all during the day to make sure that your kids' services are being met and that you have the things that you need too. So once we do that, Mike, it's pretty much said and done. And they love it. I have parents come in, they want to read. I say, let's check with the front office. And my principal, Scott, he's really wonderful about letting the parents come in. So during the holiday time, we'll go in and we'll read stories, and the kids will love it.
Oh, they're excited, right? They're excited.
Love it.
I wish my kids would get that excited to see me again.
Right?
You know,
I go in and dance. If they doing like the little brain breaks, I'll pop in and dance. It was like, Miss Davis is dancing again, but they love it. And it gets the parents involved. So it works good.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Now, I mean, so elementary school, obviously, let's talk a little bit about high school seniors and maybe some of these college-bound students. What should they be focusing on to prepare for that next phase in their education, whatever that is?
Academically wise, especially with seniors, I tell them the first most important thing to make sure that you have everything you need before you even consider outside of graduation. Make sure you have all of your credits in line.
Yeah, make sure you're going to graduate first, right?
Make sure we're going to definitely do that. And then higher education might not be for all students. Some kids don't want to go to college. Some kids rather do a vocational, and that's fine. But make sure you have a game plan. Make sure you sit down and talk with your teachers, talk with your counselors, and find out, well, what are my options? What can I do? And make sure you know going forward that this is what I really want to do, and be passionate about what you do. Because I hear so many kids when I ask them, well, what do you want to do in life? Miss Davis, I want to make a lot of money, but why do you want to make a lot of money? Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you passionate. Because I'm never going to be rich being a school social worker, but I do this for the outcome. I don't do it for the income.
That's right. That's right. You know, follow, you know, there's a lot to be said for that. And like I touch on what you said earlier, you know, not everybody's college bound, and you don't have to go to college. I think that's okay. In fact, I think you're actually seeing that in the workforce markets now anyways, is that you could probably make a fair amount of money doing non-college related work, provided you get the appropriate trade and skills, training that comes along with that. And we in Pasco County are actually making a lot of progress in offering those skills-based training, because we want our citizens to be able to live, work, and play. And hopefully these kids stay around and continue to live and grow in their local community. So, you know, we'll continue to work with the school board on that kind of stuff. Dana, what else? Any advice for these young adults here coming into the world?
Yeah, for sure. Something my husband and I did with our two daughters was giving them a little bit more independence over that last year of high school into that first year of college, because in the society, all of a sudden, everybody turns 18 and they're on their own.
All of a sudden,
they have to make their own doctor's appointments. They have to do all of these things that mom did for them or dad did for them. So I think if over those last few months of their senior year of high school into those first few years of college, kind of give them a little bit of independence, teach them how to make those things, teach them how to register their car, and teach them how to make a class schedule, teach them how to budget, all those things that can set them up for success when they do go off to college or even just move out on their own. They'll be a lot more prepared for that next step.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, Dana, you had touched on mental health earlier, and here on the podcast, we talk a lot about that. I know you have an extensive background in mental health care. How can parents and educators emotionally support students better?
I think the biggest thing is just being open with your children, having conversations with them, talking with them about concerns that they have. In the Pasco County schools, we have an excellent referral process for getting students help outside of the household, getting them involved with school counselors, getting involved also with counseling agencies in the area. We have some ability to refer parents to them. They can just call their social worker, their counselor, like Deborah mentioned, any of the student services team. Just give us a phone call. We can get that process started for them. And then reducing the stigma, talking to them about the fact that they may need help, and that's okay. It's not a problem to go see a mental health counselor. It's not a problem to talk to your school social worker or counselor. be able to open those doors for them so they know that it's okay to ask for help. Just like they went to the doctor for something, they can go to a school's or a mental health professional for the same thing.
Any tips to get them to open up? I can just tell you, I mean, there were times where I couldn't even figure out what my kid's day was like. Even I'm trying to ask an open-ended question, but I'm getting a very closed-minded response. And sometimes with mental health, like you mentioned, there's a stigma and maybe a feeling of whatever those feelings are. Any tips for parents who might be struggling a little bit just to know or find out?
Just don't give up. Keep having those conversations. Keep being open with them. Share about your day. Share about your mental health struggles. Share about maybe some thoughts and feelings that you're having. And definitely encourage them to speak to the school social workers. There's a lot of students that we see that sometimes are uncomfortable bringing that to their parents' attention, but they'll come see the school social worker or the school's counselor, even the nurse or the psychologist. They'll come see us. And then we can bridge that gap for them and get them able to be more comfortable talking with their parent. We can make that phone call together with them to tell their parent what they're feeling, or we can clue the parent in on, hey, here's some tips to help the student, or here's some things that'll make it better for them because they're really struggling in this area.
And I guess you don't get that without building trust and relationships with your students. Deborah, can you talk to me just a little bit about how important relationships are in your line of work and how those contribute to success?
Very important, because if they don't trust you, they will not talk to you. And I always tell my students when they come in my office, they always know that I am their ear for that voice. Sometimes you just have to be silent and just listen.
Yeah.
And once you meet them where they are, we say this in social work, we're going to meet them where they are. Just be that person that they need to talk to. Sometimes you don't have to share anything. You just listen attentively and let them do all the talking. And once they see that you understand and you don't judge, because first and foremost, we want to be non-judgmental, because if they see you being judgy, then they're not going to trust you. So if you want to build a rapport, sometimes myself, especially with my little ones, I have my little ones, when I go into the ESC units, they crawl all over the floor. A lot of them are nonverbal, but they know I like to wear the sparkly stuff. So they'll come up to me, my smell good stuff, they'll sniff me. And I was like, oh, Miss Davis smelling good today. Give me a big hug. And we'll just sit there. And if they cry, I let them lay on me and cry. They put their little fingers on me, they touch, but I'm okay with that, because if that's the way they can communicate with me, Mike, then that's fine. But see, they understand. When they see me out in the park, they'll smile because they know that I'm meeting them where they are and I'm not being judging, because it's hard for kids sometimes to come in and open up because you feel really vulnerable.
Yeah.
When you have any kind of mental challenges. But like Dana said, there's a big stigma with mental illness and mental health. But I like for the parents to know that we are here to help you. And we don't want the kids to be ostracized, because sometimes the kids are ostracized at home, even by the parents, and they don't even know it. Because I have had parents come tell me, Ms. Davis, I just didn't understand. I said, sometimes you just have to stop, pause, and listen.
And I think it's even particularly challenging. You work at an elementary school, right? So, I mean, here we're talking about kids that are just various phases of just developmentally, they're different, let alone having to deal with whatever other things that they need to talk to you about. Any tips to share on that? That's tough. I mean, I don't know how you do it.
Sometimes I call them my little screamers, but that's okay. I can hear them down the hall.
I have them at work.
And it's so funny. And sometimes my principal goes, get Deborah, she understands them. She can get to them. So I have one that cries. He comes in crying. So I meet him in the office, and I was like, it's okay, buddy. I know, I get it. I don't want to be here today either, but I want to get paid. And when I say that, he laughs. And then I bring out the bubbles. We play with the bubbles. Then I turn on the music. I say, if you can just give me a little effort, I'll turn on your favorite song. And boy, they love that. And once we do that, we build in those relationships.
Fantastic.
With trust. And I walk them to school. I had one student, I'm going to share this story because it's very memorable. She's no longer in Pasco County schools, but her mom died. And her mom died tragically. And she would not talk to anyone. And the uncle said, she's not going to talk to anyone, Miss Davis. But one day she was having a hard time, and the counselor, he buzzed me. He was like, Deborah, can you just work your magic? I'll try. But she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't walk to class. So I just walked out, no conversation, because she needed that. I put my hand out. She took my hand. We walked to the classroom. And before I left, she opened up her mouth and she said, Miss Davis, I love you. And I said, I love you too. So sometimes just be that silent voice.
Wow. What about Dana? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Deborah said, it's sometimes those children have such a hustle and bustle at home, and the parents have so many things going on. Both parents are working nowadays the way the economy is.
Right.
Both parents are trying to parent their children, and we don't have to do any of those things. We can just be that person, and we have the office. They can just come in and sit quietly. I have quiet music playing. We have low, dim lights in our office. We have stuffed animals. We have books. And sometimes they'll come to her and say, Miss Dana, can I just have a break? Absolutely. We come in, we set a timer, they read a book. They don't say a word. Their timer goes off, they get up, they walk back to class. And that's what they needed. So that's what we have to do as social workers, and definitely anybody working in the school system, is just build those relationships. You can't help students if you don't have that relationship with them. And by building the relationship with the parent or with the student, you build the relationship with the parent, which helps with attendance, helps when you need help with something, helps to build a relationship with the parents. They know that we care and we're not just the school system getting on them for something.
Wow, that's great, guys.
And one more thing I want to add to Mike. I like to call the parents when the kids do something great, because parents want to hear that. They don't want to just receive the phone calls, oh, your kid is acting up.
It's always negative, right?
You got to do those positive affirmations. So I called the parent, oh, he did great today. He was quiet. He did not get in trouble. And I had one mom, Miss Davis, I love the fact that you always call and tell me something positive about my kid. You have to remember those things, because if you don't have empathy in our profession and you don't have compassion, then this is not the right profession for you. Because you got to remember that these are children, these are parents, these are your colleagues. If you don't practice that warmth and that genuineness, how can you do this job effectively? And as a mom of 2 adult children myself, I get it. Sometimes we have those struggles.
Oh, yeah.
And well, you have to deal with those struggles. You have the angry parents, and you have to deal with that too. But at the end, you just want to do the best you can to make sure their needs are being met.
Wonderful. Build them up. I love it. So kind of getting back to the back to school mentality here. Any meaningful back to school rituals you guys would like to share? Deborah or Dana? Dana, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm starting to get back into I just finished summer school, so I was up early for summer school. But this weekend, I've been sleeping in. So I was just talking with my husband that I'm going to have to start getting back into that. Go to bed before 1 o'clock in the morning and start to set my alarm a little bit earlier every morning, because I've enjoyed this weekend being up until 1 or 2 in the morning and then sleeping until noon. So clearly that's not going to work. So that, and then every year I buy myself a new outfit to get me in the mindset of going back to school. It was something I did as a kid, and now I just do as an adult. So it kind of brings the excitement of going back to school.
That's fantastic. Deborah.
It's so funny that Dana said, I do the same thing with the new outfit. And every year I go home and visit my son, because I still have a child back home in Alabama.
Okay.
And I was recently there. Actually, I just got back yesterday, and I got to put it out there. Today is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
So I got my hair cut twice, and I got my new outfit, and I told my son, I said, oh, it's July. All right, pretty much my summer is over, so I'm just going to get in all of my good reading and just wind down, still watch my Netflix. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. Yep.
All right. Well, as we look ahead, what trends do you see shaping the future of education during Back to School Month?
Well, with the way technology is advancing, I mean, pretty much parents, I tell the parents, take advantage of this. I'm not technologically savvy, but I can make it do what it do. Yeah. But I tell the parents, reach out. If it's a virtual thing that you guys can do, a Zoom, a Teams, whatever, meet each other in the middle. Just do what you can, because honestly, technology is taking over the world. And if you don't keep pace with it, you're going to get left behind. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's one of the trends I see happening.
Fantastic. Dana?
Another trend, Deborah mentioned technology, but another trend that I see that isn't a very good trend is the attendance rates in school are falling. It's a push Pasco County had last school year. It's just to get kids to come to school, get kids engaged when they come to school. So that's something that I think is beneficial to push as parents, as educators, everybody works in the school system, other people, you guys, is just help kids understand the attendance.
Any particular reason you think that's falling? Is that?
I think it's a lot of different things. I think COVID really impacted a lot of people. They weren't used to coming to school for 2 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're required to be in school every day of the week. And it's a little struggle for them nowadays. So I think if everybody can be on board, the parents, the community, the social workers, everybody in the school system, we can get that back the way it needs to be and help kids learn so they are prepared for middle school and, in my case, high school, college, those things.
Okay.
And I'm going to add something to that, because I'm glad Dana brought it up by the attendance. And with Florida being compulsory attendance, see, back home in Alabama, attendance start when you start school. But kids have to be 6, and it really don't count until the age of 6. And a lot of the kindergarten parents, they look at it, well, my child is not 6 yet, Ms. Davis. I say, but these are when we set the fundamentals and the foundation for grade level attendance. So once you start making sure that the child is present every day during their kindergarten year, they're going to have a successful attendance rate going forward. And I get it. I know kids get sick. And like I tell the parents, it's different for kids actually being sick or just saying, Mommy, my tummy hurt. I said, because at the end of the day, kids going to use that because they're very smart and they know how to work the system. And they'll tell you, Miss Davis, I have a fever. Oh, let's go to the nurse's office.
I think we've all seen our share of Academy Award-winning performances, haven't we?
I had one tell me, Miss Davis, it hurts when I open my eyes. I say, really? And you walked all the way from the classroom to here? I was like, I don't know. I better close my eyes too. So you just got to make sure that you practice, like Dana said, make sure that we practice doing things in the kindergarten years because those are the most formative years when it comes to attendance.
Absolutely. So, hey, just for fun, what is your favorite school memory? It could be you personally. It could be you working. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I told my daughter I was going to talk about her as much as I can, but I'm going to do that. When my son started kindergarten, it was so funny. I still remember. My husband and I, my late husband and I, we bought her a new outfit also. Right. We got a backpack. We got a lunch bag. The first day of school for him, she cried 2 weeks straight. So finally, his kindergarten teacher said, how about we just gonna set a desk up for her and just let her sit here for 10 minutes of the day, because we were walking. And after we did that, she stopped crying. And then when she started school, the first day, she did not cry. She was just perfect. So I like to share that memory. Now, I want to talk about my memory also, too. When I was a little girl, I used to love to get ready for back to school. And I always wanted to get my little Converses, my little denim skirt, and my little book bag with Barbie on there. And my little Barbie, I still remember my little Barbie lunch bag. And that was always my back to school ritual because I knew I was going to get a new outfit with my Barbie book bag.
That's awesome. Dana, how about you?
I have a June birthday, so I never got to celebrate my birthday in the school year, and all the kids got to bring the treats in, and I just got left out. So 3rd grade, my teacher let all of the summer birthdays have a day of the week. So I got to actually bring treats for my class and have a party with my
That's fantastic. You know, I'm the same way. I August 1st is my birthday. Never got cupcakes. Never had my mom come in. I was always jealous of those kids that had those birthdays from like September all the way through May. And then my kids were always hit or miss because one was like June 6th. So sometimes it was like last day of school. And sometimes it was never. So I can relate to that. Well, listen, guys, I got a couple of other questions for you. I'm going to go off script for a second here, but would love to hear it. I think I know the answer to this. Night owl or an early riser?
Night owl.
Night owl all the way. How about you?
Early riser.
Early riser. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm in that camp. What was your first job, Deborah?
Wow, that is so funny. My first job, I still remember. I was 16. I started at Hardee's. And I was on the counter because I would always go there with my grandma and get the same thing every time. So it was summer and I wanted to make some money. Yeah. And my dad said, well, how about looking for a job? You're 16. You want to make some money? Go apply for a job. And they was hiring students at the time. And I still remember I got hired and I did the early morning shift and I loved it. I did the breakfast rush.
Get the breakfast.
Yeah.
I like a Hardee's breakfast.
The elderly patrons were my favorite customer because they were funny. And so I still remember that. Yep. Working at Hardee's.
Dana, how about you?
Mine was McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yes. So 2 fast foods. You know, the last podcast we did, I had two grocery baggers. So you guys are funny. Everyone's I guess have been peas in a pod. So all right, one place you want to visit, Dana, that maybe you haven't been.
I lived in Italy for a year with my first husband, but I want to go back to Europe and travel.
Outstanding. How about you, Deborah?
I'm gonna get it right. One of my best friends, she's Hawaiian. And we always say Hawaii. She's like, no, Hawaii. I want to go there because she talks about the beaches and all of that. And my brother was stationed there before he retired from the military, and it's beautiful. So I always wanted to go there. So I'm going to do it.
Yes.
It's on my bucket list.
It's definitely worthwhile then. Let me ask you this. Favorite ice cream flavor, Deborah?
Oh, God. And I can't eat it as much now, but chocolate. I love chocolate.
Just plain old chocolate. Just simple chocolate.
Rich, the richer the better.
Nice. Nice. How about you, Dana?
Raspberry sorbet.
Raspberry
Tastes
sorbet.
like eating fresh raspberry.
Oh, wow.
Delicious.
That's very, very specific. What's your go-to snack?
Salty.
Salty. Nice.
Me too.
Yeah, I like that salty stuff. I like to mix it up a little bit, but that's a good thing. All right, one more. Let's do movie or book.
Mike, book.
Book. I know. I'm asking
especially
educators.
when I read a book and then go watch the movie. I'm
Always disappointed. Always, right? Always, yeah. Like it didn't end like that.
I know, right?
Yeah. They cut out all the important stuff.
Definitely a book, but like Deborah said, I don't like to watch. I watch the movie after the fact, but
Right.
I have in my mind what it's supposed to look like. So I'm very disappointed that
I
the people's
know.
clothes are different than I had in my mind,
That's-
and the
Yes.
car looks different than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. You just got to kind of put that beside you sometimes and just go with it. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. It was great having you both. And we wish you another successful school year, guys. And special thanks to our media relations team who make this effort possible. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Pasco Podcast. I'm Mike Carballa, and we'll see you next time.
For more information on Pasco County government, please visit mypasco.net.